They can also do this in one sentence. Now, women operate on 5 tones of voice, of which men can identify 3. Men operate on 3 tones. So a woman will start off on subject 1, halfway through without apparent notification. She introduces a second subject. Now, the women listening realise by the tone of voice, here's a second subject. Most of the men think, this is the same subject. Now they start thinking, what is she talking about? Now she brings in a third subject, goes back to the first. The women know 3 things were being discussed. Is this true, gals? You look at the faces on the men, they're thinking, what is going on in this group? Now, if they know you well, they might say, what are you talking about? Or something very subtle like this. Now, from a nest defending standpoint, being the childbearer means that your brain would need to have the abilities to allow you to defend territory and offspring at close range. Long-distance navigation, target hitting is not relevant. You need a number of other skills. First, being able to multitask with both hands would be a big advantage from a gathering standpoint. You could pick at twice the rate. If, like most men, like 93% of men, you're dominant only with your right hand, which is your hitting throwing arm, tie that in with your spatial skills, there's your lunch chaser. That means if you're going to do that in gathering, you're going to be limited. So you don't need a spot in the left brain to identify the right hand like most men. In fact, nearly half women don't have a spot on either side to identify either hand. They cannot tell left from right in simple terms. And boy, do they get stick from men about this. You don't even know you're left from right, Cheryl. Well, no. Successful nest defending doesn't need that. You don't need a dominant arm. You need to be able to multitask equally. There are far more ambidextrous women than men. And women have several other advantages. I mean, anatomically our eyes are the same. Men's eyes are slightly larger. Women have more white of the eyes. White of the eyes is a communication tool. But what your brain software lets your brain see is very different. Now, if you picture most of the males in your life that you know, now it doesn't matter whether he's 5 years of age or 65, the principle's the same, has a form of mild tunnel vision. Most men can see far better than women and test to be better at seeing targets directly in front over long distances. Peripherally, most men it's all the blur out here, we can't see much at all, but we can see that fly on the wall back there. Tie that in with your dominant right arm and your spatial skills, there's your lunch chasing machine, this is his job. Now, the advantage of that, of course, he can see a target undistracted. The downside is he can't find things in refrigerators, cupboards, drawers. Every woman in this room has recently had a conversation with a male. He's standing in front of an open refrigerator. See if you recognise it. Where's the butter? It's in the refrigerator. Well, no, it's not. I'm standing here looking now and there's none here. Raise your hand if you have had this conversation. Now, he insists it's not there. You walk into the kitchen, you thrust your arm in the refrigerator, and right in front of his face at eye level is this gigantic tub of butter. Now, there's no cultural differences we found in any responses to this at all. The only cultural difference we did find is that Eskimo women can reverse parallel park a sled and point north. Now, for thousands of years, they've been hunters similar to the male, so it makes sense that they would have evolved with those skills. Now, a typical woman has a peripheral vision that operates at least 60 degrees from the side of the head. Now, most men start laughing when they hear this. Many can see up to 180 degrees, and a small percentage can see slightly behind while appearing to look directly in front. For the women, is this true? Yes or no? Tell them. Now, for most men, this is getting too much. You try to tell me, Alan, that she's talking to the gentleman on the front table. While she's talking with him, she can see all the people around him at the same time. Yes, and she can hear what they're all talking about. And tell you tomorrow what they were wearing. A multi-tracking brain allows you to do that. See, it allows you to pick up stimulation and information in your area about other people and animals. So while you're multitasking in front, you can see a person or animal approaching or sneaking up on the nest either side. Now, this peripheral vision, fellas, is a bit of a clue for you. Kinsey Institute in America, who study human sexuality, they found this is the reason women do not get caught having a good old look at men on the beach. She seems to be looking there, but she's looking at this guy here. Now, when you come into a room like this, you're with a man, right? And you say to him, without appearing to move your lips, you say, look at that couple over by the exit sign. What's the first thing he does with his head? Women say to men everywhere, stop looking, it's so embarrassing. You're so obvious. Now look, if he doesn't turn his head, he cannot see anybody. It's that simple. You're walking down along the beach, fellas. You've got a woman walking beside you, and coming out of the out of the water over here on an angle is absolutely beautiful looking woman with the best shaped figure you have ever seen. Now you haven't seen it yet because you're watching that seagull landing on top of that lamppost up in front. Who spots her first, you or the woman with you? Women know the answer to this. You spot her long before he's got a clue what's happening. Then you evaluate her as a competitor out of 10, marking yourself down. And when you finish that form of self-beating, then you look at him and wait till he sees her. When he goes, "You dirty mongrel in public!" The visual spatial area of the brain. This the right part, which exists for the majority of men. From age 2 onwards, men and boys test to be very strong in visual spatial skill. It also means that you can look at information three-dimensionally. You can see height and width, and you can see the third dimension. You can see behind an object. This allows you in your mind to mentally imagine something rotated upside down. Now, mental rotation is a very strong part of male hunting brain. You can also go three-dimensionally this way. This would explain why 94% of all air traffic controllers in the world are men, wouldn't it? Why 98.1% of all air traffic crews in the world in commercial airlines, pilots and engineers, are males. It's not sexist. We went down to see the air traffic controllers, as we do with most major spatial occupations, and we said, "Hey, where are the women? Why aren't they here? Where's this equal opportunity?" You know why there aren't more women air traffic controllers and pilots? They don't apply for the jobs. You know why? They're not interested. They couldn't care less. It wouldn't occur to your typical younger student today as a female to apply for a job as an air traffic controller. It wouldn't make sense. They wouldn't even see the job. In fact, you've got to have spatial skills to even be interested. Does that make sense? It's not that they're no good at it. They're not interested. They orient their careers into other areas where their brains are really more suited, and they find it more interesting, such as 86% of all therapists and counsellors in Britain are female. It makes sense. Speaking, communicating, listening. Most men would think of being a counsellor or therapist as listening to complaining people all day. You've got zebras to hit. Spatial skill allows you mental rotation. This allows you to estimate coordinates of something moving in the distance. It's a hunting part of the brain. Most men are strong on this. Most women don't need it. Consequently, you're looking at about 10 to 15% for your typical woman having the same spatial ability. It's also the area of the brain you need to reverse parallel park a motor car between two other cars. It's also the area you need to merge on a motorway. 18% of women in Britain will not merge on a motorway. Now, this is something you never hear discussed because you need to estimate the speed of the cars going past and the speed of your own to know when to poke it into the hole at the right speed. So they'd rather not do that. And they get a lot of carry from men about this. It's also the reason so many women have so much trouble reading maps and street directories. Fellas, back me up. You're going for Sunday drive, right? You guys get behind the wheel. You always drive. No one's questioning why you drive. You just do. Driving is a spatial skill. Speeds, angles, corners. That's why men love it. They watch other men driving in a circle for 2 hours on Sunday. On TV, round and round and round and round. For women, that makes no sense. But he's in the seat himself, making all the adjustments, giving Hackenden those instructions. He watches a man kick a ball into a net on Sunday and rushes home and watches on TV on a replay. 6 times the ball comes out in slow motion. Now, women think this is a waste of life. Why would you watch a ball go in and out of a net? Because it appeals to the spatial area of the brain. So you're going for Sunday drive, fellas. You have a woman beside you, and you say there's 2 words that destroy your day. You give her a map and say, which way? Approximately 20% of women, about 1 in 5 women are fairly capable to excellent on orienteering and map reading. About half the balance have trouble and struggle, and the rest don't want to know about it. Give most women in the world a map or directory, what is the very first thing she will do? She turns it upside down to face the direction you are travelling in. Then she looks out on the horizon and tries to find a landmark that looks like something on here. So